Hi, I'm Jason Dagger.
Justin Dagger.
And we're part of Cable Acres Farms and Dagger Seed Service.
Hi, I'm Todd Woodruff from Urbana, Ohio.
I'm Ethan Snyder, the president and founder of Old Souls Farm in St. Paris, Ohio.
I'm Mike Pullins, one of the owners of Champaign Berry Farm.
And I'm Kathy Pullins, one of the other owners of the Champaign Berry Farm.
Hi, I'm Dr. Dave at Freshwater Farms of Ohio here in Urbana, Ohio and Champaign County.
Welcome to beautiful Champaign County, Ohio, where our farms are as diverse as our landscape. The hills in the north and east give way to the fertile Miami Valley. Abundant water resources allow for crop irrigation, aquaculture, and hydroponics. Our history is strong in agriculture and has driven infrastructure and industry since its inception.
We actually were able to find a bankrupt, abandoned chicken farm after looking around the area for places that had good water, but we didn't expect to find a place that had good buildings as well.
Why Champaign County? I grew up in Columbus, Ohio. We actually found this farm online and bought it online and moved out here. At the time, the land was really cheap. I wasn't looking for high value corn acreage to produce on. So this was a good fit for just a small organic garden type thing. And it turned out to be a good fit for a greenhouse as well.
At least potentially good buildings. They were rough, but it gave us a place to develop what became the first indoor recirculating rainbow trout farm in the world, using technology to clean the water so we didn't have to use so much fresh water.
Champaign County, I guess that wasn't necessarily a choice. Born and raised here. My dad, my grandpa, my great-grandpa. We've always lived in Champaign County, and of course most everybody that's going to watch this video knew my Uncle Merlin. And all of our ground is probably within a 3-acre piece just north of here, about 2 miles. And so I guess Champaign County wasn't a choice, but if I was going to make a choice, I mean, it's Champaign County is a great county. It really is.
Champaign County is like the breadbasket of all of Ohio. We have everything here. You know, we've got some rolling hills. We've got probably some of the most productive fertile soil in the Midwest. We've got an awesome climate, you know, with variability. You know, even the county is like a microclimate of Ohio. You see different parts of the county that have variations in not only rainfall, but different weather patterns. I mean, we're kind of on a glaciated ridge here where we live out by Cable, and you can actually, because of our elevation, you can actually see some of the different weather patterns on both sides of the ridges, where we may actually get different precipitation, specifically snow, because we're, you know, a couple hundred feet higher than part of the rest of the county. We'll have more snow, or sometimes it's warmer up here and part of the valley gets more snow because we're warmer during that time. So different weather patterns throughout the county make it kind of a unique place to grow crops.
And so we have benefited from the resources of Champaign County in a lot of ways, and that is not just limited to the water, but the people, the infrastructure for agriculture that's here. Everything really helped us get off to a good, fast start.
That's because we live here in Champaign County, and we found it a great home. Champaign County has a rich specialty crop, food crops history, and I think that's part of that is because the soil here and conditions are conducive to that. We have some soils in Champaign County that are very well drained, which is great for specialty crops, but also that ground being well drained also has a very large supply of irrigation water. Mm-hmm. And so we can also manage the water resources, drainage and additional water here in Champaign County. And we're of course close to some large urban areas that provide a great market.
From first generation to fifth generation, every farm is unique in what they grow and how they grow it.
We're actually a family business, so my dad is my boss. My brother's a salesman for us. A bunch of friends from high school work for us, and then obviously we have a bunch of great people from Champaign County that work as well. We are up to 60 employees right now. We started Old Souls Farm in 2012, and I started off growing organic vegetables outside. I did grass-fed cattle, maple syrup, mushrooms, all sorts of different things like that before we settled into the hydroponic greenhouse space in 2017.
We started this farm 35 years ago for two main reasons. I grew up in Champaign County, so it was a chance to move back to my home turf, but also Champaign County is blessed with an abundance of water resources. And if you're going to be starting a fish farming or aquaculture operation, that's a great place to start. It was my wife and I bought the farm, and shortly thereafter my parents joined the operation. My father took early retirement as an aviation engineer. He couldn't wait to raise melons with our leftover fish water, and that's what we did out here in this area when we first started. Our first crop here at Freshwater Farms was actually watermelon and cantaloupe, because it takes 3 months to raise those. It takes a year and a half to raise the fish. So we did a lot of raising those melons and bell peppers eventually, and what's now called aquaponics, where you're fertilizing vegetables with fish water. But we're now getting back into that and using as we've expanded our trout farm to the farm next door, where we'll be raising produce and vegetables with that leftover fish water again.
We established the farm in the early 1990s based on a FFA project for eldest son Matt. And we started with just a few acres, and we found out after a couple of years we needed more and more acres in order to serve the public.
And it's kind of grown from there, maybe gotten out of hand. So we currently have about 23 acres of raspberries, specializing in black raspberries, but we also raise red raspberries, some gooseberries, currants, and other things, and it just keeps growing from there. In the past few years, we've also grown some sweet corn, and about 8 or 10 years ago, did a test plot of peaches, and that's now matured, and most years we get some peaches, and that's been a good addition to our farm operations specialty crops. We also have a large acreage of row crops, corn and soybeans, some alfalfa, a few acres of wheat this year. We're pretty diversified except in the livestock area.
So the original farm was established by Golden Dagger and moved here in the late summer of 1891. And where we reside today is the current operation. Champaign County, and moved here later that year. And I believe we're the 6th generation.
Yep.
And you're starting the 7th generation.
Yep, me as well.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so Dad and Mom, kind of got us started here back in the early 80s, the cow-calf operation. And then, of course, the whole family, I have a twin sister, Jessica, and then a younger sister, Jill. So we were all part of it throughout that process, through high school and early years of college. And then after college, Jessica and Jill moved away, got married, and live on farms today. Mainly today, just Dad and Jason and I are in the main operation here every day, and we have an employee or two that help out also.
We have a farming operation. We milk 30 registered Jersey cows. We also have an Angus herd, which we are using for breeding stock. We farm about 800 acres, corn, soybeans, and hay predominantly. Our goal here is to try to be a true farm-to-table facility. We're milking our cows, we're taking the milk, we're processing the milk, we're getting ready to make cheese and ice cream along with fluid milk, And as far as our beef products, we're actually working with our neighbors on that, the Dagger family. And we've bought all their calves, and we feed those calves, and we have them processed. Last year we sold about 111 head worth of beef, and we considered a little higher quality, you know, due to our aging and genetics, things like that. Going real well. As far as the involvement of our family, there's myself and my wife Terry, Levi, which is my oldest, he's 31, and his wife Haley, he has 2 young girls, and then my youngest son Trevor, which just turned 20, he's involved also. And to be real frank about it, if they didn't want to be involved, we wouldn't be trying this venture. So it's I can say it's a challenge. It's a whole bunch of learning. It's, you know, needless to say, it's a lot of dollars involved. But you know, we've got a good staff of people helping us, and so far slowly the market is coming to us. And I have to admit, I think COVID helped that a little bit. It brought them to us, but we've got a long way to go.
One of the things that we've done here at Freshwater Farms is become a lot more diversified over the years. We really started with the food fish production, but we soon got into stocking fish for people's private ponds. That has literally become a major part of our business, about a third of our business, so that we can supply from not just our farm, but from other farms around the country, a whole array of different types of species. We really have about 20-some species of fish on the farm. We used to raise yellow perch for food as well, but now they are actually worth more as a stocking fish, and it's one of the most popular fishes here in Ohio, since it's a great pond fish that is attuned to our climate. So it's been one of the things that we also raise inside in our recirculating systems. Beyond that, and I owe part of this to my engineering father, we started selling equipment for ponds and things like that, aerators, you know, different types of feeders and whatnot. But we came a little disappointed with what they were offering. So about 23 years ago, we started making our own floating pond fountains, which had some extra qualities, including a draw tube so that you could circulate the whole pond, things like that. But that's become another third of our business, which makes us a little more year-round, because otherwise we're very seasonal with the stocking fish, and allows us to keep really good help on the farm all year round. So there's a reason we went into a little more diversity for that reason as well. Some fish farmers are maybe smarter than me. They close down in the fall and they go to Florida. We are year-round. And because we're year-round, we are developing more and more our agritourism here on the farm that goes with our retailing and all that. So we've developed other activities, you know, where they can feed the trout, they can feed our pygmy goats, they can feed our ducks, they can go up and get kissed by a fish. We have all kinds of things that they enjoy. We have a touch tank with toads and frogs and salamanders and turtles and things and crawfish that most kids just don't have that opportunity anymore. So it is attracting families to the farm, and we are open all year round because most of it's inside every day but Sunday right now. So it's become the fun part for me, because we enjoy educating people about what we do, why we're doing it environmentally friendly, and all that. So that has become a kind of a goal of mine in particular, that we want to reach out and show people.
So in the greenhouse, we produce basil, arugula, a variety of lettuces. We've done microgreens and some other unique crops as well. But really what fits our market best is the lettuce, basil, and arugula. One of the big advantages of hydroponics in specific is that it's a very safe way of growing produce. Because not only we're surrounded by 4 walls, so animals can't come into the field and contaminate your crops, we're able to sub-irrigate everything in water just from the roots. So if the water source is contaminated and sprayed on the top of something like a lettuce, and people eat that, they could get sick. You know, so we go through a lot of trouble to make sure that our water source is clean. and then on top of that, we're able to never hit the leaves with any water as well.
So yeah, we have 250 cows. That's divided up into a fall herd and a spring herd. The spring herd is mainly 200 cow-calf operation. Then we have about 45 to 50. The calves started here in September. Alongside that, we make about 300 acres of alfalfa grass. And then we have about 1,500 acres of row crops, mainly corn and soybeans, and we do have some wheat that we rotate in and out also.
What we produce, I guess on the farm side, naturally the corn, soybeans, and hay, and then we're, feeding out our cattle. On the finished side, we're currently producing fluid milk, and a market that we did not even think about, and most of our milk is going to right now, are coffee shops and daycare centers. That's the bulk of it. As far as our beef side and our meat side, because we also carry pork, and we buy our hogs from John and Donna Linder out of New Carlisle, so that's a farm direct product also. But that is growing slowly. We're getting recognition from restaurants. A lot of people know the Cameron Mitchell's restaurants, and surprisingly, they kind of came to us for the quality, and so far that's working out good. So we're just kind of going with where the market takes us and what the customer wants.
So I guess what caused the shift from all those other little projects to the greenhouse and kind of the big project that it is today? We were growing crops outside from May to September, October, but a lot of the customers, the demand for produce is year round. And so just kind of closing the doors in the wintertime, I was like, how am I gonna make a living in the winter? And we kind of hit on the greenhouse idea as a way to grow produce year round. And that hydroponics was a very consistent way to grow produce year round. So we seed and harvest plants every single day of the year. And that gives us a very consistent output that, then you can go and sell to your customers. One of the challenges with outdoor farming is that you plant a bunch and then you harvest a bunch, and then, not a whole lot in terms of revenue happens in between.
Some of the products produced here in Champaign County stay right here as support for local products is strong. Other products reach markets nationally and internationally. Regardless, creating a top-notch product drives their every move.
We have a variation of markets. We feed a lot of the corn that we raise. That we're our number one customer of our corn. Soybeans we typically market here locally, just for ease of getting rid of the crop. But from the cow-calf operation, we typically raise those calves up, and we're a cooperator with Woodruff Farms and supply them with meat for the farm market. So we use a lot of, we're all Angus-based genetics, so we can sell certified Angus beef here. Anything else that doesn't go to that market, we sell grass calves in the spring. We also raise some Holstein fat cattle at different times of the year, and we sell those through United Producers typically.
Our market are lots and lots of people from all over Ohio. We get folks from Indiana, West Virginia. So it's a diverse market, and mostly pick your own. I'd say we're probably 95% pick your own for the raspberries. The peaches, we will do the picking for those. But and then we do sell some raspberries that we pick, and we hire high school, college, and I've got a couple teachers that work for us in the summer in picking raspberries. And like Mike said, we're in a very key location. I-70 is not far. We get people from Columbus, Delaware, points beyond, from the north, Lima, in that area, Sydney, and then, like I said, Indiana, West Virginia, Virginia. We've had customers from Virginia, and we actually had a couple people visiting from Idaho that came in and were picking last week. So it's you never know.
The first day we opened this year, we had several cars with Texas license plates. Now, I doubt that they came
just
to
for
Ohio
berries.
just for raspberries, but you can't get black raspberries, red raspberries, of course, in Texas. So it's, and black raspberries are native to the U.S. Midwest and are only popular or known in the Midwest particularly, or people, of course, that have moved from the Midwest and can't access black raspberries.
Come back.
They're not in the stores, so they come back, and not just nostalgia, but also because it reminds them of Ohio, and that's great.
Our market is mostly grocery stores around the state of Ohio. Whole Foods is a great customer. Dorothy Lane is a great customer. I think we probably make 120 stops around the state every week. Not every one of them is a unique customer, but so we drive around 6 days a week to the state, delivering produce to grocery stores, restaurants, farmers markets.
An interesting experience in marketing, especially in a non-seafood kind of part of the country. We helped start the farmers market back in 1988 so that we would be able to introduce that. We banded together with some other local farmers, popcorn growers, orchards, and that really gave us a chance to where I basically dressed the fish for the customer at the farmers market. We continued that for 10 or 12 years, and that introduced our product to the consumer. So we eventually built a small store in our fish barn. I don't think you would do that at a hog farm, but in our fish barn, because it's clean and there's no odor, we had a store, a small processing area. We started very small. Eventually we started selling, as word got out, to area restaurants in Dayton and Columbus, because we have a product that was swimming the same day they get it, and that's unheard of. Most fish are at least a week from that in the seafood market in Ohio. So we have a huge advantage of being locally produced, local marketed, and we did that for about 16 years, about 40 restaurants and markets in the area. Then we decided to open and remodel another barn on the property as our store and wanted to start selling other local foods, local products, local art, and we did that. And within a few years, we became almost completely retail dependent. So virtually all of our fish, except for a few local restaurants, all of our fish go to our retail market, where we process, we smoke, we have fillets, we make trout burgers, we make all kinds of value-added products. So over the years, we've kept adding to that base.
Changes in weather extremes, be it flooding in the spring or the hot, dry summers, has impacted many farmers in the area. Wet weather in the spring and fall have reduced working days, but some farmers have adapted to minimize the impact.
I don't know that we've seen, even though we're many decades old, a lot of change. I remember weather is so changing and unpredictable, even with all the weather models and everything we have today, that it's just a challenge. And the uncertainty of it, you plan for uncertainty. For example, with our irrigation, we can supplement our water resources here. And those are the things we're always trying to do is mitigate weather negatives and to provide additional resources such as water when we need to. And that exact temperature, that's still a little harder to control, and those things. We have maybe a few more weather extremes, but I can remember some of those when I was much younger.
Yeah, impacts from changing climates. It seems like in the last few years, especially in spring, it seems like our springs are moving forward a little bit. It seems like 1st of April, the last 2 years has been a good time to plant. Guys that took advantage of that, it seems like it's paid off. We have hit a couple cold spells through that time, but it seems like they've managed it well. As far as rainfall, it seems like we're getting more frequently. So making hay on our side of things has made it a challenge. How to mow and when to mow. It seems like those windows are getting smaller. We don't get the big goose drowners, but it seems like the rain is more frequent. So it's making it challenging on our end. With that, we're getting more disease pressure than we have, it seems like, in the past. So we've had to address that. And this year, presently, we're dealing with armyworm that we've never dealt with in the past. So I don't know if that's climate related, but definitely they've migrated up from the south faster than what we've been able to keep up with this year. So,
Changing climate, I guess this is only an opinion, but I do feel like in the last few years we've seen our springs become later and our falls also running later. And I guess we don't know for sure, but like this year, a lot of replanting going on due to the fact that it was colder. We had a little warm snap and then it got cold and things like that, and I'm sure there's a lot of folks, but I don't know if that's necessarily a changing climate or just this year, but in the last, like I say, the last 5 years or so, I feel like our springs are becoming a little later, but they're carrying into the fall later also, so.
Or, as we see with indoor agriculture, they have taken Mother Nature out of the equation completely.
One of the things that we've really seen for the future, and people are concerned about climate change, in the Midwest, we're pretty well set. I mean, the forecasts from the environmental scientists and the climatologists are that we're going to have plenty of water. We may have more extreme storm events, be that global weirding you've heard about seems to be happening. In Ohio, our rainwater annual rainfall is already up like 30% over what it was, for the last 100 years. So for us, water's good. We don't really care as long as we have water. We're trying to make things less weather dependent. Of course, our produce operation is certainly weather dependent. But anyhow, we think in the Midwest, the future looks good because we're not going to be like the water subsidized West and Southwest. They're going to have real problems. But for the long-term future, we're good to go here in Champaign County.
Because we're a greenhouse, climate change hasn't affected us too much. So we have the ability to control our environment. So whether it's hot, cold, wet, sunny, we kind of have a little bit more control over that than a traditional outdoor farmer.
Whether looking at next year or the next generation, plans abound to keep agriculture growing and thriving in Champaign County. Each farm is unique in what tomorrow looks like. For some, the next generation has moved on to different things, and for others, they are still in diapers. In their own way, each presents challenges and opportunities.
We want to continue to grow what we're doing, grow off of what we're doing. I guess like any business, you have to get to a certain size to kind of see profit. We're not there yet, but I guess to just continue to grow what we're doing now is kind of our plan, and we'll see where that goes or where we're led, really. Yeah.
One of the unusual crops that we started back in about the year 2001 was the first crop of freshwater shrimp. Now, freshwater shrimp are tropical, but they grow to be huge. They are the largest species on the planet. But they can be grown in a short 3-month summer season. So an Ohio State Extension person that had been in Kentucky working with those came to Ohio State and introduced Ohio to those. And we picked up on that. And the 1 year after we first did our crop of shrimp, we said, here's something different. Why don't we have a festival to draw people to Urbana in Champaign County? So we started the Ohio Fish and Shrimp Festival in 2002. Except for last year during COVID, we've had that every year since. So we've had 18 festivals. It will again happen this year, September is the month of the harvest for shrimp. So it's always been September, but instead of 3 days, the third weekend, we're going to have 3 consecutive Saturdays after Labor Day. Not Labor Day, but the next 3 Saturdays. So we have developed over the years an amphitheater for live music, kitchens that support thousands of people that come. We invite vendors, food trucks, all kinds of things, and that will happen again this year. So we've been missing that, but it's good to have it back. But we also are wanting people to realize that we're here all year round. It's not like most farms that have just something in the fall and that's it. So we are developing more and more year-round attractions here on the farm.
Probably to keep doing this as long as
we can.
We enjoy it, and we don't have any obvious people within the family. Our 2 sons are partners in our farm operation, particularly the row crop operation, even though they're off the farm and have other professional careers. So that we are hoping that somebody in the future can take over. Certainly the demand and opportunity is there, but we'll see what it brings.
And it may be another farmer or maybe another farm group. We're just not sure. When you hear customers who have that need and appreciate what you're doing, and we have many, many who say thank you for being here, that really makes it rewarding for us. And so we want to continue as long as we can.
We want to continue to expand. We started with a 1/4 acre. We're up to 1 acre now. We've got plans in the works for a 6-acre expansion. So we'll be able to grow maybe 5 million pounds of lettuce a year out of that, compared to 400,000 pounds a year right now. So we're excited.
As we look at the future, I think it has told us we need to make sure that we diversify our operation. I think we've done that kind of over the last few years. We diversify our markets. We take a proactive approach to kind of look at new genetics for the future. I think we've tried to capitalize on the Angus side of the marketing that's already put in place in people's minds, that certified Angus beef is there and it's going to be there for a while. I think as we look at specifically our operation, certainly we'll try to expand as our future generations come along. But I think it's planned expansion. It's, when opportunities present themselves. I think we have a plan to stay in the cow-calf business because we understand it, we feel good about it. I don't think you will see us adding, thousands of cows, because we're limited on the amount of pasture that we have in this part of Ohio. But the same token, understanding that, taking those cows that we have and trying to get the most production out of them, and utilizing forages and the grasses that we have in the best way that we can.
No story is complete without lessons learned. Agriculture areas are well known for their sense of community, and Champaign County is no exception. There is a willingness to share what they have learned to further the success of the next generation, pulling from years of personal experience and the experience of generations before them.
I think the biggest thing, unlike years ago, today farms are more of a business, and they need ran more like a business. Details, a plan, and you can have a plan on the farm, and due to weather or whatever it may be, it might get messed up, but you at least need a direction. And I've learned the hard way. But that to just simply treat it as a business and, watch your details, know your numbers, your input costs versus your income, and, keep a tight grip on that, because they're going to change every year. I don't care what anybody says. They're just going to change. And if without those numbers, you have no idea if this plan had an impact and it worked or could work. I really think that's one of the biggest things. You know, you've always got the hurdle of, you know, a young guy or young gal trying to get in the business, and it is tough. You can get it give to you, and it's still a tough business. And I think a cold hard fact is the fact that if you don't have somebody to help you get in it, it ain't gonna happen. But at the same time, you can say that about any other business. You know, you don't just go out and buy a fleet of trucks or a warehouse or food processing. I mean, at some point in time, you're kind of going to need a hand because you're going to have a major investment. So I'm definitely not going to run it down at all, but you really kind of need to run it like a business. That's kind of it in a nutshell.
Advice for future farmers. It's a lot of work, but it's very rewarding because you get to use a lot of problem solving skills from a lot of different fields. You've got business skills, biology and chemistry. You know, all that is what makes farming unique, challenging, and fun. So work hard, and anything's possible.
Advice to younger farmers is start, even if you start small. And of course, we weren't doing this to this scale 30 years ago or 50 years ago. As we've built our farm acres and farming operation, we started small, but it is possible. And working with other farmers, being involved in the community, there are opportunities today. Even as the mega farms get bigger, there's more room in between. And for especially, and I think today, consumers appreciate local produce,
Absolutely.
local products more than they ever have. And there's opportunity. And it's whatever your niche, and then listen to the consumer. And they'll tell you what the opportunities, what the demand is, and work with OSU and other farmers in the industry. Agriculture is a great industry for sharing and farmers helping each other. And that's what we found here in Champaign County and across
beyond.
all of Ohio.
Mm-hmm. And I would encourage anybody who's interested in small specialty crops to get involved with that, because black raspberries, there's a huge demand, and we're one of the few farms in the state that have black raspberries, and obviously we can't do this forever. So even if an individual wanted to plant a half an acre to get started, or an acre, and we're glad to help anybody who wants to get started. I just would love to see more black raspberries in Ohio, because it's such an important part of Ohio's history and the life of a lot of people who want to come pick. They remember picking with their grandparents or picking along the railroad track, and we've got things here that makes picking pretty easy, and just would love to see more farmers get involved in specialty crops.
We have helped a lot of people get into aquaculture here in Ohio and around the Midwest. And if I had one word of advice, it's start small, but start. I've seen people hesitate for 10 years when they could have did like we did and just jumped in and start. My first tank was 4 foot by 4 foot. How high can I pile these concrete blocks with plastic liner before the water pushes it over? So our first tanks were actually just stacks of concrete blocks and plastic liners that we didn't know if we'd have to change, but we started. You know, you learn by doing it. You learn by starting it, and that's probably my best advice. You know, and also we have a wonderful Ohio Aquaculture Association in Ohio that brings all these people that have learned hands-on together with the scientists and researchers, and it's a fest of information. So it really can help people avoid beginner mistakes. And in this business, a beginner mistake means you might lose the whole crop. So you do have to be careful, you do have to do your homework, but That's my main advice. Start small, but start.
I would share also that we've both also had other careers, and both retired 10, 12 years ago, and so we've now been able to focus 100% on our farm operation. But this started many years ago while we had other careers. I worked for the Ohio Farm Bureau for 33 years, and it was very compatible, and getting to know other farmers and the industry and so on was helpful.
I worked in the education field, so I could schedule being off. Even when I became an administrator, I could work a lot during the school year, extra time, so I could have June and July off, and so that's how we made it work. So, and that's possible. You just have to be creative and find a way to make it happen.
And agriculture, to any young person, would say it's a capital intensive business.
Mm-hmm.
And so getting a stake, a financial stake, and building that, putting those resources back in the business while you have another career to live on and wage is a model that's very common in agriculture. And it does work, and especially if it's a career that's compatible with that. But I tell people I don't golf.
We don't swim.
30 years. This is my recreation, my opportunity, and so on to get away from the career job back when. Now I've got to find something to get away from the farm here. But it's an opportunity. It's rewarding.
Very rewarding.
In that way.
Advice for future farmers. I'll let you take that one.
Gosh, I don't know. You just got to stay up on current topics. I mean, it just, gosh, I think it's ever important. You got to be a keen marketer, and being able to adapt. And I think younger generations are good at change. They can accept change a lot, easier than some others. But I guess you got to be cautious about it too. I mean, you got to look at the elders, and I think they've been around it and seen a lot of it. So you got to definitely pay attention to them, but being able to adapt to what your market is, and be able to try new things.
I think diversification is part of that.
Yeah.
For future generations. I mean, we constantly are part of a world market, and those things can change in a moment's notice by a news article or an email, by a text or a tweet. And if you're in one specific market, it can have a domino effect real quick. If you're diversified a little bit, you can take in that impact softens the blow on your actual operation. Yeah.